को पकड़ लिया, तुमने मेरे को बाहर निकाला, तुमसे शादी करो। अब ययाति बोला, he resisted the proposal, giving the same reason as before, namely that she was too far above him in birth. Also, he felt drawn to Sharmishta.
शर्मिष्ठा वहां तक आ गए थे। हेलो।
Hmm.
और अपू,
Hmm.
शर्मिष्ठा जो थी ना,
Oh, हाँ.
उसने कहा था
Sorry.
नौकरानी बने मेरी।
हाँ. Months later, and Devyani's shutter was now fully. Now, months later, Devyani went into the same glade to sport in the water. मतलब देवयानी फिर से गई यहाँ पे गुरु शुक्राचार्य की and play games with her companions. Her chief attendant this time being Sharmishta. Sharmishta उसके साथ थी. While they were enjoying themselves there once again as before, Yati appeared in search of a deer he had been chasing. अब याति पूरा वेला आदमी था, तो वो एक डियर के पीछे आया उस जगह पे. He stood arrested by the spectacle before him. The battalion of beauties presided over by Devyani. उसने देवयानी को देखा, फिर देखा, अरे बाप रे, पीछे तो बहुत ही है ना सुंदरियां बैठी हुई हैं. And sitting just a step below her, Sharmishta, whose beauty outshone that of the rest. और नीचे उसके नीचे एक बहुत ही सुंदर बैठी हुई थी शर्मिष्ठा, कि अतीब सुंदर थी. He became involved in a conversation with Devyani as he had before. जैसा हर आदमी करता है, वो देवयानी से बात करनी शुरू कर दी. At the end of it, Devyani again proposed that he should marry her, as he had already grasped her hand. और देवयानी थी थोड़ी चिपकू. उसने कहा, देखो तुमने मेरा हाथ पकड़ा है, अब तुम मुझसे शादी करो. He resisted the proposal, क्योंकि उसका मन तो शर्मिष्ठा पे आ गया था. He resisted the proposal, giving the same reason as before, namely that she was too far above him in the birth. Also, he felt drawn to
She was
Sharmishta.
too far.
above in the birth, मतलब तुम एक शुक्राचार्य की लड़की हो और मैं क्षत्रिय हूँ, कहाँ तुमसे शादी हो जाएगी. और ययाति का मन शर्मिष्ठा की तरफ आ गया था. बट ही कुड नॉट गिव दिव्यानी दिस. दिव्यानी बहुत पकड़ के रखती थी, भाग नहीं सकता था. She sent a messenger to fetch her father, explained the situation to him, and suggested that he should give her in marriage to this prince. अब दिव्यानी ने कहा, देखो भैया पापा बड़े पावरफुल हैं, तो एक मैसेंजर को भेजा और कहा कि भैया पापा को लेके आओ, और कहा कि मेरी बेटी इससे शादी करो. याति एक्सेप्टेड द सिचुएशन एज ऑल मीन्स ऑफ रिट्रीट फॉर ब्लॉक्ड. भाग तो सकता नहीं था, देवयानी ने पकड़ लिया था, तो याति ने कहा कि भैया ठीक है, मैं सिचुएशन एक्सेप्ट कर लेता हूँ. His last hope was that the father of the girl might object, but Shukracharya gave his blessing to the union, declaring it was predestined and must be accepted without argument. तो याति कथा कि अरे यार शायद उसके पापा मना कर दें. शुक्राचार्य, अरे ये तो होनी है, तुम्हें अब शादी करनी पड़ेगी, ये तो होना था. You will be blessed in every way, said the seer, but he warned the prince. This girl Shamishta will also accompany my daughter. तो याति की तो चांदी हो गई. देखो तुम्हें तो हर तरफ से ब्लेसिंग होगी, ध्यान रखना ये लड़की शर्मिष्ठा भी आएगी. She is the king's daughter and she will deserve all the honorable treatment you may provide for her. तो उन्होंने कहा कि देखो ये तो मेरी लड़की तो आएगी और इसके साथ एक सुंदरी और आएगी, ये शर्मिष्ठा. ये है राजा की लड़की और इसको एकदम अच्छे तरीके से रखना.
शुक्राचार्य ने कहा,
बट टेक केयर ऑफ वन थिंग, never call her into your sleeping chamber, but never call her to this thing room bedroom है ना, and never seek to talk to her alone, not touch her. कभी उसके पास अकेले मत जाना, या बात मत करना, या टच मत करना, कभी अपने स्लीपिंग चैम्बर में मत बुलाना. देवयानी विल बी योर वाइफ एंड यू विल बी ब्लेस्ड इन एवरीवेयर. तुम्हारी शादी केवल देवयानी से है और तुम हर तरफ से खुश रहोगे. Yati took his wife with a retinue including Sharmishta to his own country. Yati ले गया इनको अपना country, of which he was now ruler. In a beautiful spot outside the capital, he built a mansion for Sharmishta and equipped it for her comfort. पर ध्यान तो शर्मिष्ठा की तरफ था. तो कैपिटल के बाहर उस शर्मिष्ठा के लिए एक बड़ा सा घर बनाया और बड़े अच्छे तरीके से रखा. Presently, a son was born to Devyani. देवयानी की एक लड़का हुआ. Sharmishta was not happy at heart. She brooded over her lonely lot and began to think to herself, I'm of an age to have a husband and a child. अब देवयानी को देख के शर्मिष्ठा का भी मन किया भाई मेरे भी शादी हो बचाओ भाई ठीक है. But he who might have been my husband is monopolized by Devyani. Devyani ने पकड़ के रखा हुआ है इसको. I cannot think of any other man as my husband. Will he ever come this way? इस तरफ कभी आएगा बट किसी और के बारे में सोच नहीं सकती. I'm Devyani's slave and whatever belongs to her belongs to me. मैं उसकी slave हूँ. जो भी उसका है वो मेरा है. ये
कौन?
तो उल्टा लॉजिक बनाया. She has a son and I must have one too. उसका एक बेबी और मेरा भी एक बेबी होना चाहिए. What is the good of all these gardens and flowers and food and marble halls in this terrifying solitude? जिंदगी अकेले गुजरती जा रही है. इसमें इतने सारे फूल मार्बल इन सब का क्या मतलब. ओ ट्रीज टेल मी व्हेन विल द किंग बी हियर. हे बताओ राजा कब आएगा. Very soon the king happening to pass that way paused for a moment to have a word with Sharmishta. तो राजा इधर से गुजरा था पर देखा एक सुंदर शर्मिष्ठा का घर आ रहा है. वो रुक गया. Straight away, as if to express herself fully before she should be gone, she confessed her love for him. उसने कहा मैं तुमसे प्यार करती हूँ भाई भाग मत जाना. And demanded that he reciprocate. He merely said, ever since I met you, I have carried your image in my heart. मैं तो तुम्हारा हमेशा दिल में तुम्हारी तस्वीर लेके घूमता हूँ. पर शादी किसी और से करनी पड़ी. But I promise for father-in-law, but I will never speak to you alone.
नहीं,
शर्मिष्ठा
उसके पिता ने कहा था, शर्मिष्ठा के पिता ने कहा था कि इससे कभी नहीं मिलना.
नहीं देवयानी के ना शुक्राचार्य ने. Shrivatsa, a promise made in just or under extraordinary circumstances, or to save a life or property, may be broken without any moral consequences. भाई कभी कोई मजाक में या अगर एक्स्ट्रॉर्डनरी सर्कमस्टांस है अपनी जिंदगी बचाने के लिए कभी भी ब्रेक की जा सकती हैं. Truth is something more than that, and for all such lapses, there are extenuations. The king was charmed with the speech. राजा खुश हो गया. Ask for any gift, he said. You want wealth, you want a kingdom, ask for it, it will be yours. तुम्हें wealth चाहिए, kingdom चाहिए, तुम्हें क्या चाहिए, तुम्हारे लिए हो जाएगा. O king, all such material gifts are of no value. They do not give one lasting satisfaction. I want a gift that will be part of my body, that is a child by you. मुझे जो है, well, it is said that a woman without a child goes to hell. I belong to Devyani. Whatever is a wife's may be freely used by the husband. जो भी बीवी का है वो हस्बैंड यूज कर सकता है. ठीक है ना. I need a baby. Take me. The king's defenses were completely broken by this time. मतलब Sharmishta was really smart. And when they parted for the day, he had fulfilled her desire. Yayati began to find Devyani less and less interesting. He left her alone, ignored her, and took extreme measures to keep away from her, spending all his time with Sharmishta. Devyani was unhappy and sent a message to her father complaining the king had grown cold towards her. Yati often reflected, it is my good fortune that Sharmishta has come into my possession. She is like rain for the crops, nectar for the thirsting souls. Devyani looks to me fierce like a serpent. देवयानी खूंखार लगती है like a serpent.
उसने कहा
और शर्मिष्ठा जो है वो तो एकदम cool, calm, collected. Devyani was rather puzzled when she heard about the birth of a child to Sharmishta and went out one day to verify the fact. देवयानी को लगा अभी इसका बेबी कैसे हो गया शर्मिष्ठा का. वो गई उसे कहा मैं चेक करती हूँ. She confronted Sharmishta with a misgivings. What is this you have done? I always thought you were so pure and innocent. तुमने ये क्या किया. मैं तो सोची तुम बड़ी पवित्र और पावन और innocent हो. Sharmishta answered, I am not the sort to run after mere pleasure. I came across a person of utmost divinity and effulgence. I begged him to enrich me with a child and obliged me out of compassion, as anyone knows. It is proper and legitimate to acquire a child in this way when a noble source acquiesces it. The baby I have is a gift from a rare being. Devayani was somewhat appeased by this explanation, but he asked testily, can you tell me where this great being lives, his whereabouts and his name? I would also like to know him. Sharmishta rose to the occasion by answering, his purity and spiritual eminence glowed like the sun, and I could not muster the courage to ask him his name. Devyani was satisfied with the explanation and went back to her palace.
वापिस चली गई.
Huh. Yayati had a second son by Devyani. As time passed, he encouraged her to drink a strange beverage that looked colorful and tasted sweet but was intoxicating. Whiskey.
हिंदी बता.
मतलब याति ने कहा कि देखो तुम एक इसको पियो, ग्रीन है वगैरह था और पर इंटॉक्सिकेटिंग था. She grew accustomed to this drink and fell into a perpetual state of inebriety. मतलब वही हुआ जो साहिब बीवी गुलाम का था कि उसने उसको ड्रिंक की, शराब की लत दिला दी.
किसे?
ये आती ने उसको.
दिव्यानी को.
हाँ. Often she wept, sang, or was lost in prolonged slumber. And sometimes she even failed to recognize Yayati and warn him off as if he were a stranger come to molest her. आप देवयानी जो थी वो नशे में चूर रहती थी, उसको तो होश हवास नहीं था. The king spoke severely to her, ill-treated her in many ways, and finally surrounded her with a company of deformed freaks, eunuchs, and senile persons, and took himself off to Sharmishta and was lost in the elysium of her company night and day. राजा याति ने देवयानी को छोड़ दिया और चले गए शर्मिष्ठा के पास. She now had 3 sons by the king, और शर्मिष्ठा के 3 लड़के हुए उस राजा से. Often when Devyani had passed through a phase of inebriation, she asked Yati to take her for a change to a lonely garden place outside the city, where she found lovely children playing. She asked her husband, who may these children be that such a godly appearance and have some of your wonderful looks? तो देवयानी जो थी याति के साथ जाती और कहती ये सुंदर सा गार्डन में इतने सुंदर सुंदर बच्चे कहाँ से हैं. वो याति की तो थे ना. So saying, she approached the children themselves and asked who their father was. She was so gentle, persuasive, and insistent that children pointed their fingers at Yati standing beside them. तो देवयानी गई, उसने कहा तुम्हारे पापा कौन है? तो बच्चों ने उंगली उठा के कहा ये हैं, और याति के सामने. He turned pale and remained aloof, and the children burst into tears and ran to the side of their mother, who was standing a little distance away, her head bowed in shame. But her abashment lasted only a little while until it received the full blast of Devyani's indignation. Sharmishta retorted, when I said my child was the gift of a person of great divinity, I did not utter a falsehood but meant it. Who could be more divine in appearance and accomplished than the person at your side? कौन ज़्यादा सुंदर डिवाइन हो सकता है पर्सन तुम्हारे साथ में. When he accepted you, he accepted me too. जब तुमसे शादी हुई तो मुझसे शादी हुई. When your worthy father gave you away, he gave me away to the same person. तुम्हारी शादी में तुम्हें दिया गया तो मुझे भी उसको दिया गया. You and I have always shared everything. Devania drew herself apart from the king and declared to him, let it be so. You may live with her and enjoy all the pleasures that you seek. I cannot stay here anymore. तुम जा सकते हो. देवयानी ने कहा आप जो है मैं तुम्हारे साथ नहीं रह सकती. ठीक है. She plucked off her ornaments and threw them down and started to go back to her father. वो गई अपने फादर के पास जाने को. याति followed her, uttering many words of apology. हमारे यहाँ भी कितना इंटरेस्टिंग है ना. याति भी उसके पीछे भागा, uttering apology. She reached her father's house and announced at the threshold, I have been wronged. The daughter of the demon has betrayed her true quality. She controlled I have 2 sons by this king. Sharmishta has 3. You may judge for yourself. तो देवयानी गई, बोली कि भैया देखो मेरे तो 2 बच्चे हैं इससे और इसके 3 हैं शर्मिष्ठा के, आप डिसाइड कर लो. Shukracharya told Yati, you are one well versed in ethics and morality, and yet you have committed the sin of infidelity. Old age will overtake you in a few minutes in retribution. तुम बुढ़ापा आ जाएगा और तुम्हारा retribution. The king explained how he had come to have children by Sharmishta. He tried to represent it in an impersonal and altruistic way. Act. Shukracharya was not taken by this explanation. He merely said, a man who keeps up an appearance of righteousness and performs misdeeds under a false cloak is no better than an ordinary thief. You're already suffering for this duplicity. Even as they were talking, Yati's appearance underwent a change. His flesh sagged, his hair turned white, and he began to stoop. He cried, "Oh, forgive me, don't condemn me to senility. I still have longings and desires to fulfill." Shukracharya took pity on him and uttered a condition. If you find a youth who is prepared to take on age, you will be free to effect the change. You shall have that power. ठीक है ना? अब क्या होगा? Yati approached the eldest of his three sons by Devyani and offered him the kingdom immediately in exchange for his years. The son said, "The senile man has no place in life. He is unable to enjoy anything in life, is laughed at by servants and little girls. No, father, let us keep your respective years to ourselves." Yati cursed him for his selfishness. "You will never be a king." He asked for a second son by Devyani, who said, "Old age kills the power to love and to live, and it misshapes a man and destroys intelligent judgment." "No, I don't want old age yet." The king cursed him. "Your lineage will perish. You will find yourself leader of the lowest grade of human beings, those who eat carcass, offal, adulterous, and bestial creatures." Now he turned to his three sons by Samishta with the same request. The first one said no, and the king cursed him. "Your lineage will perish, and you will be the king of a desert, inaccessible by road, by water, or by donkey ride." The next son also declined to take on his years. He then turned to his last son named Puru and asked him to make the exchange. Young man said, "I will do anything you like. All I have is yours, father. जो भी आप कहेंगे वो मैं करूँगा." The father embraced him with joy and said, "I will give you back your youth and 1,000 years." Yati attained Puru's youth in every detail. He settled down to a life of utmost enjoyment and never missed even a single moment of delight. And since he had youth and energy, he also proved a just and a good ruler. He fostered learning, honored the saints, never missed a sacrifice or ritual that would please the gods, succored the poor and the suffering, and punished evildoers fearlessly. In private life, he pursued a life of uninhibited pleasure with women, wine, gold, possessions, and comfort. Yati ne puri ऐश की. As he squeezed the utmost out of every second, 1,000 years passed by uncounted. And suddenly, while enjoying the company of a semi divine damsel, Yati remarked that it was time to return his son to his youth. He dropped the damsel abruptly, returned his back to the life of an abandon. Returning the throne, he told Puru, "You have been a wonderful son to me. Become young again and rule this kingdom as long as you wish. I have tasted every pleasure in life, and what I have realized is that there is no end to desire." Above. By such austerities, Yati attained.
अरे पुरु को इन्होंने दे दिया फिर कि
Puru.
क्या तुम यंग हो जाओ.
He was welcomed in heaven by Indra, seated in the palace of honor as Puru was attained perfection, and was asked, "You have attained salvation through a great renunciation. Who is your equal in spiritual progress?" "None," said Yati promptly. "Amongst men, gods, and saints, I see none of my attainments." Indra replied, "Since you respect none, you shall fall back to earth. Weight, the weight of your ego must necessarily pull you back." In consideration of his attainment, Indra added, "You shall, however, fall amidst good force and return here in the ripeness of time." Yati began his great fall from heaven. When he reached earth again, he was gently received by a group of saints in the forest. They said, "Who you may you be, resplendent one? In the dark clouds of the sky, you shone like a meteor blazing down the path of the sun. May we know who you are?" They surrounded him and questioned him eagerly about heaven and hell, birth and death, and the good and bad life. After some time, he went back to heaven, this time with his ego controlled. He was fit only to reach heaven, but he was not only fit to reach heaven but also to stay there. और ये कहानी खत्म.